Hey guys, Jerry Miculek here, and this video is sponsored by Sonoran Desert Institute of Firearms Technology. Kind of give you an idea what we have here. We have long guns. We're going to talk about malfunctions and troubleshooting. These are what I shoot in competition, so I have to drive these things in all kind of conditions. And I want to give you some insights on the basics of what can go wrong and how to look for a problem area. So the gun as it comes, this one is a 5.56. So you have to realize if it's 5.56, the gas port is regulated for that pressure. It has a mid-length gas system. So if I alter this in any way, it affects the velocity of the bolt. Assuming you have a clean chamber and you have extraction problems all of a sudden, it's short stroking or it's not ejecting in the same pattern, things to look for as the gun wears. And one thing that's not very obvious from the inside of the gun, I'll show you here. This is a gas tube that I've shot a lot of ammunition from. So if you were to look inside the receiver, you notice that little boss area here that goes into the gas key is still good, but I can see this part of the gas tube, but I can't see this part from looking inside of the gun. So the gas tube is worn out of tolerance. The gun was starting to short stroke. I didn't see it until I took the firearm down and actually found it. The other thing that can happen on gas systems themselves, a direct impingement system like this, some of the gas blocks themselves are just affixed with set screws, and after you shoot them a while, they walk forward and they get out of line with the barrel port to the gas port in the block. Same thing, you lose gas flow to the receiver, and it actually start to short strokes. That's some of the things you want to look for in the gas system. And also on the bolt assembly itself, I've seen the key. This is the gas key on a MSR. Of course, this tube, when it's in the firing position, fits into the gas key like this. I have seen keys go loose. That is very seldom. What I see the most is that the gas rings themselves on the bolt has worn out to where there's no resistance in it. It doesn't form the proper seal, and it causes the bolt to short cycle just like a gas leak in the tube or the block itself. So what I do when I get a new gun, I want to know how much tension the bolt has in the carrier, and that's a good guide as it wears. If this thing reciprocates very easily, that means your gas rings have worn out past spec. Time to change them. Things to look for on the bolt itself. And this is something I do when I do a periodic maintenance on my equipment before I shoot a competition. Kind of give you an idea here. These are some broken bolts. I have a bag full of broken bolts. Just about everybody's manufacturer in the world will break with use. They're good for about 12, 15,000 rounds. Depends on the fact if you're shooting 5.56 or maybe 223 ammo. That's about their life expectancy. This is what usually breaks on them. Give you an idea. This lug on the inside of the extractor area, you see how it shears right off? That's common. This bolt has gone through a lot. This is probably the longest lasting bolt I ever had, but it finally broke. Also, you can see here where the key goes through the bolt. This one cracked. Something to look for. And the other thing I look for, especially on the bolt carrier that I'm going to shoot in competition, I want to make sure that the ejector is properly functioning. And this is just as important as the extractor. The ejector, it has to be loose. And I always do a check on it like this. There's actually a hole to oil that in the bolt. So every time I do a PM, I oil it. Take your cartridge, hook it under the extractor, and try to pull it past the extractor. That's telling me the face of the extractor is in good shape. I'll usually always take it out of the bolt and do a check also. So you have that to look for. And pretty much if you do that and you shoot the ammunition that's stamped on the barrel, if it's a 5.56 gun, you shoot 5.56 ammo and you don't alter the system, it's going to run a long time. We're all guilty about putting pieces and parts on the gun, and we actually hamper the performance of it. So that's just a few parts and a few things to look for on this style of firearm going into a shotgun. I've been competing now for about 40 years. I've spent a lot of time on the range, and during those 40 years, there were many times I had to find the help of a professional gunsmith to keep me going. So if being a professional gunsmith is something you might want to consider as a career, SDI has the materials and the knowledge to make all that happen. And you never know, you might help an old guy like me get some. High capacity shotguns, like we shoot in competition. One thing probably everybody's guilty of is not maintaining the extractor. That's probably the most overlooked part on the whole shotgun. I've seen them rusted to the point where they don't even work. This thing gets oiled just like I oil the whole gun, and periodically I'll take the whole bolt assembly apart and clean it out to make sure it functions properly. The other thing you want to consider on a shotgun, just the other day on this gun, even though I thought I had it relatively clean, it started pulling the rims off. The bolt would cycle back and there would be a cartridge in the chamber. I've never had that happen to this gun. And I'm thinking, well, I know it's good ammunition. And so anyway, the chamber had fouled, and I shot this gun for so long without cleaning the chamber. It was my fault. And I didn't really realize it, you know, doing the old check like this didn't really show that it was dirty till I got a chamber brush out. I got back to the shop and it was severely fouled. I had neglected this gun for a long period of time. Chamber brushed it a little bit, got it back, oiled it a little bit, and it got back in the fight. So that's one thing I do with my competition guns. And I'll even do it in the match between days of competition. Say I shot on a Saturday night, I'm in there cleaning the gun. I'll do the chamber. I want everything to be back into spec. And another part of a high capacity shotgun that's overlooked, and that's going to be, let me go ahead and flag it again, the quality of the magazine spring. You have to realize when you load this all this ammunition into this magazine, that spring is condensed into a little area about this long. And every time you fire around, the recoil sends the firearm to the rear and the ammunition forward. So it's really working and stressing that magazine spring very hard. And the life expectancy of those springs, I don't really know of a manufacturer that one quality is better than the other. They all just wear out from use. And you look at this one, this is 15 rounds in the mag. So the quality of this spring is going to be very important. So what I'll usually do, okay guys, with flags here, what I'll usually do when the gun is running really good, I'm going to take I actually on my desk where I service my equipment, I have some marks on the desk, and the spring has to be that long, or I have to get rid of it and put a new spring. Another way of testing it in the field, this is kind of crude, but it can keep you in the fight, is to get an idea of how much magazine spring actually protrudes out of the magazine when it's a good spring. So I know when I see this, I'm just about ready to go, and it'll run for that day. Magazine springs on shotguns are truly everything. You have to remember when you have malfunction, that I don't care if it's an AR or it's a shotgun, you want to pay attention to where the malfunction might occur. Is it the first shot out of the mag? Is it the last shot? Because what happens on these high capacity magazines as the springs wear out, that last round doesn't have a consistent pressure on the feed latch. So when the gun cycles, that ammunition is actually off of the feed latch in the recoil, and then the gun will lock back like it's empty, but you have a round in the mag. Some of the things to look for, that's some of the basic points. Another thing, guys, always oil your choke tubes. Hunters are especially bad. They want to shoot their shotgun and throw it back in a gun rug, and then when they go to change chokes 10 years later, it's fused in there. I constantly take this thing out and oil it. Of course, it's my competition gun, so I baby it. And there you have it, guys. Just some basic points on what to look for and how to troubleshoot. There you have it.